Hello soulmates, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll be teaching you guys how I made this fluffy bubble skirt from start to finish. If this is what you're interested in, kindly stick around and watch this video to the end, and let's get started. First, we're going to start by drafting the pattern for this skirt. As you can see, I have my paper and all my drafting tools. So for this skirt, the only thing I'll be drafting on the pattern paper is the lining piece. And that's because the lining piece is 6 inches shorter than the main piece. Now, the main length of the skirt is 22 inches, but on the lining piece, I'm going to deduct about 6 inches, which gives a total of 16 inches on the lining piece. Next, I'm going to take out 2 inches for the band, and I'm going to come down by 16 inches, which is the length of the lining piece. I'm going to mark that down, and I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side and connect with a straight line. After doing that, I'm going to label my hemline, and I'm also going to label my waistline. Next, I'm going to put down my round waist measurement on the waistline. To do that, I'm going to divide my original round waist, which is 31 inches, by 4. So 31 divided by 4 is 7.75 inches. I'm just going to put that down on my waistline. Next, I'll be getting my round hip measurement divided by 4. I have a round hip of 44 inches, and that divided by 4 is 11 inches. Now on the hemline, I'm going to put down 11 inches plus an extra 5 inches ease. And that's because the lining piece will be drafted just like an A-line skirt. Next, I'm going to connect from the waistline to the hemline with my hip curve. Now after doing that, on the hemline, I'm going to go up by 1 inch, and I'm going to connect with a curve back into the hemline. I'm doing that to eliminate the sharp edge on the side bottom of the skirt. And after doing all that, I'm going to cut out my piece. This is the fabric we'll be using for the lining piece. This is bridal satin, or you can get any satin fabric. You can even use crepe for the lining piece, but I'll be using bridal satin for mine. So I'll be using this to cut out both the front and the back piece. I'm just going to place my fabric here on fold. I'll be cutting this on fold, just like this. So while cutting out your pieces, do not forget to add your seam allowance. As you can see on the bottom, I added 0.5 inch seam allowance, and I added 1 inch seam allowance on the side seam, and then on the waistline I added about ½ inch seam allowance. And while cutting out your back piece, do not forget to add your zipper allowance to the center back of the skirt. As you can see, I'm using this pattern to cut out both the front and the back piece, and I have added my allowance. So for the zipper allowance, I'm using 1 inch. So do not forget to add that to your lining piece while cutting. I left 1 inch here for the zipper allowance, and then I left ½ inch here at the bottom for the joining allowance. After cutting out my lining pieces, I'm going to stitch the side seams with 1 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to leave the center back opened on the side. And this is what we have. This is basically, this is basically what we have. Already cut out this main piece. This fabric is Mikado fabric. I already hemmed the edges, as you can see, because I don't want it to shed out. And this is quite long, and I have 2 pieces of this. Yes, so the main fabric is a Mikado fabric, and that's because I want structure for this skirt. Okay, so like I explained earlier, the main piece is going to be 6 inches longer than the lining piece, and that's what I have here. So I came down by 1.5 inches. It's supposed to be 2 inches, but because of the allowance on the waistline, I had to go down by 1.5 inches, and I took the full length of the skirt, which is 22 inches, plus an extra ½ inch for the joining allowance on the hemline. And to get the width of the skirt, it's very simple. All I did was to times my round hip measurements, which is 44 inches by 2.5. Now, depending on how full you want your skirt to be, I want mine that full. That's why I used 2.5 inches. You can use 2 inches, you can use 1.5. But if you want your skirt to be as full as mine, you can go ahead and use 2.5 inches. I had to cut out these pieces in two just to make up for the width. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to stitch it with ½ inch to make it one piece. I'm going to notch the midpoint of my lining piece, and that's because we'll be pleating the main fabric on the lining piece. So I want to make sure the pleats are spread out evenly. And after doing that, I'm going to get my main fabric, and I'm going to place it right sides facing the right side of the lining piece, and I'm going to start pleating from the bottom just like so. And when I'm done pleating it on the bottom evenly, I'm going to stitch it down with ½ inch seam allowance. Just watch closely, I'm going to show you how I do it. So as you can see, I'm done with that, and this is what it looks like. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is to just flip over the fabric wrong sides facing, just like so, and I'm going to pleat the main fabric right on the lining piece, just like you see me doing here. I'm going to make sure it stays aligned, so I'll head over to my sewing machine right now, and I'm going to gather this with a gathered stitch. Yes, as you can see, I've already gathered my fabric, and you can see how nice it's looking. Now, something to note here, because of the texture of this fabric, because of how firm and structured it is, I wasn't able to gather it on my sewing machine with a loose stitch. If you try that on a Mikado fabric, it won't give you the gathered effect that you want. So what I did was I got my thread and my needle just like this, and I gathered it. Gathered it manually, okay, all the way, and I carefully pinned it down to my main fabric. Okay, so this is how to if your fabric is too sturdy, or you want to pleat maybe like a denim fabric, I think it's best to gather it manually with a needle and a thread. Once that's done, you can already see how nice it is looking from the inside. The next thing I'm going to do is to attach my band to my skirt. I already cut out my band. Now the length of my band is my round waist, which is 31 inches plus an extra 2 inches for the zipper allowance. And I have 5 inches for the width of the band. So I'm just going to attach my band right now to my skirt. So I've done that, as you can see, and the next thing I'm going to do is to flip over the band to the other side to conceal the area where we've gathered. So I'm going to fold it in with 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to top stitch on my band. So after top stitching, I took it over to my ironing table and I pressed it down, and you can see how nice and neat it is looking. The next thing I'm going to do is to attach my zipper. I already overlocked the zipper allowance area so it doesn't shed, because this is a Mikado fabric. So I overlocked that part closed, and now I'm going to attach my zipper to my skirt. This is what we have for this skirt. You can see how neat it is. We're just going to close our zipper just like this, and this is what we have for our bubble skirt. You can see how pretty, very pretty it is looking, and the inside is very neat as well. See that? And that's it for this tutorial, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, or if you learned one or two things, do not forget to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share this video to someone who might need this. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.